Hi guys, welcome back to my channel For Your Heart and Home. My name is Dee Dee. Welcome into my kitchen. Today I wanted to have a Q&A style session where I answer frequently asked questions about freshly milled flour. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you will hear me mentioning freshly milled flour over and over again. I've also mentioned that our family has fully transitioned into using freshly milled flour, and so I wanted to take a moment to explain further what it is, to answer some frequently asked questions, and to open the floor for anyone who might have more information about freshly milled flour. I hope you find this video informative, and if you have any further questions, feel free to mention them in the comment section below. So the first question, what is freshly milled flour? Freshly milled flour is flour made by grinding whole grains just before use. It contains the bran, the germ, and the endosperm, making it more nutritious and flavorful than most store-bought flours, which is often refined and aged. Why is freshly milled flour better than commercially milled flour or store-bought flour? Well, freshly milled flour retains all the parts of the grain, offering more vitamins, minerals, fiber, and oils. It also has a richer flavor and hasn't lost nutrients due to oxidation or been treated with any kind of preservatives. Let me break down the nutrient content of freshly milled flour. So, B vitamins. It contains a large amount of B vitamins, specifically B1, which supports energy metabolism and the nervous system health. B2, which is important for cell growth and energy production. B3, which aids in digestion, skin health, and nerve function. B6, which is involved in brain development and immune function. And folate, which is essential for cell division and DNA synthesis. Vitamin E, a powerful antioxidant found in wheat germ that protects cells from damage. So if you're going to be using freshly milled flour, you will have this powerful antioxidant as part of your meal. Fiber. The fiber in freshly milled flour comes mostly from the bran, and dietary fiber supports digestion, blood sugar balance, and heart health. These are some of the minerals that are included in freshly milled flour. Iron. This is crucial for blood health and oxygen transportation. Magnesium. It supports muscle and nerve function. Zinc. It's vital for immune health and wound healing. Phosphorus. It helps build strong bones and teeth. Selenium. An antioxidant that supports thyroid and immune health. Here are some of the healthy fats found in freshly milled flour. The healthy fats that you will find in freshly milled flour comes from the wheat germ, and these are essential fatty acids that support heart and brain health. Freshly milled flour is also rich in protein. Whole grains contain more protein than refined flour, which is important for tissue repair and enzyme function. Freshly milled flour also contains phytochemicals and antioxidants. These are natural plant compounds that protect cells and may help reduce the risk of chronic diseases. Refining flour removes the bran and the germ, where most of these nutrients are concentrated. So milling your own flour helps preserve the full nutritional profile of the grain. How long does freshly milled flour stay fresh? Freshly milled flour is best used within 24 to 72 hours for optimal nutrition and flavor. However, if stored properly in an airtight container in the refrigerator or the freezer, it can last several weeks to months. Personally, I like to mill as I need the flour, and so with the mill that I have in my home, it takes me less than 5 minutes to mill the amount of flour I might need for a recipe. So I like to mill on demand, but if you would like to mill ahead of time, try to use the flour within 24 or 72 hours of milling it. And if you would like to extend the shelf life, feel free to place it in your refrigerator or your freezer. Do I need a special mill to grind at home? Yes, you'll need a grain mill. There are electric mills and manual ones. The type you choose depends on your budget, volume of use, and the preference for convenience or portability. Another thing to consider is that there are impact mills and stone mills. And the main difference between impact mills and stone mills is how they grind grain into flour, which affects the texture, temperature, and nutritional quality of the final product. So, really quickly, a stone mill, its mechanism is set up as two heavy stones, usually granite or some synthetic stone, that crush the grain between them as they move. The grinding style is usually slow and gentle, which retains more nutrients and keeps the flour cooler. In terms of the texture, it produces a slightly coarser flour unless you sift it, with more of the bran and the germ intact. In terms of the noise level, they're usually quieter compared to impact mills. In comparison, impact mills have a different mechanism. They use rotating blades that move at very high speeds, and sometimes they will use metal fins that shatter the grain on impact. So rather than the gentle movement of the heavy stones in the stone mill, the impact mill uses high-speed rotating blades or metal fins to shatter the grain. The grinding style is usually fast and aggressive, which can generate more heat. It will produce a very fine flour very quickly, and some models allow texture adjustment. So it's usually not necessary to sift your flour if you're using an impact mill. In terms of the noise level, they're usually loud due to their high-speed operation. So let's look at the flour quality and use when comparing a stone mill and an impact mill. In terms of heat output, the stone mill is usually low and preserves enzymes and oils, versus an impact mill, it will produce a warmer or higher heat output, which can sometimes degrade some of the nutrients that we're hoping for. In terms of flour texture, a stone mill will usually produce a coarser or richer textured flour versus an impact mill, which will produce a very fine flour, which is ideal for soft baked goods. In terms of flavor, the stone mill produces an earthier, more whole grain taste, whereas an impact mill produces a milder, less complex flavor. Ideally, a stone mill is best used for artisan breads, sourdough, rustic bakes, whereas an impact mill is great for creating flour for pancakes, muffins, and cakes. Can I use freshly milled flour in any recipe? Generally, yes, but it may behave differently in baking. Whole grain flours absorb more water and produce denser baked goods. You may need to adjust liquid ratios or let the dough rest, also known as autolyze, to improve the texture. What grains can I mill at home? Common grains include wheat, which could be hard or soft varieties, spelt, rye, kamut, einkorn, barley, oats, and so much more. You can also mill non-gluten grains like rice, corn, millet, buckwheat, or quinoa. Let's talk briefly about a few of the grains commonly used by home millers. As mentioned before, wheat can be in the hard or soft variety. Hard wheat, like hard red or hard white, is high in protein and gluten and is best used for things like breads, pizza dough, or rolls. Whereas soft wheat has a lower protein content and a finer texture, and so that makes it ideal for making cakes, cookies, and pastries. One rule of thumb that I keep in mind is when I'm using anything that calls for yeast, I always pull for a hard wheat versus anything that asks for baking soda or baking powder, I pull for a soft wheat variety. Spelt. I just recently started using spelt and I'm in love with it. It's an ancient wheat variety with a nutty flavor and slightly lower gluten content. It's great in breads, muffins, pancakes, and even pasta. Rye. This is a dense grain with an earthy, slightly sour flavor and a lower gluten content. It's great for rye bread, crackers, and perfect for sourdough. Kamut, also known as Khorasan wheat, is an ancient grain with large kernels and a rich buttery flavor. My kids love this when we use this to make kamut crispies, and this is just a delicious way to use the kamut grain. And it's also great for milling to make bread, pasta, cereals, and pilafs. Einkorn. This is the most ancient form of wheat. It has a low gluten content. It's sweet and has a nutty flavor. They're perfect in pancakes, muffins, flatbreads, or even artisan loaves. Barley. This has a mild, slightly sweet flavor. It contains some gluten, but it's not ideal for rising. So this works great in soups, stews, flatbreads, or even as a porridge. Oats, which is something that most people have some experience with. They are naturally gluten-free if it's uncontaminated. It's soft and has a mild flavor and can be used for oatmeal, cookies, muffins, granola, and even porridge. Rice is another one that most people have some kind of experience with, and we can use brown rice or white rice. This is a gluten-free grain, and white is a neutral flavor. Brown has more fiber and has a nutty flavor. It is great in gluten-free baking, noodles, rice flour for breads, and pancakes as well. Corn. It's naturally gluten-free. It's sweet and can be used in a gritty or finely milled format. It works well in cornbread, tortillas, polenta, and even muffins. Millet. These are tiny gluten-free seeds with a mild flavor. They're great for flatbreads, porridges, gluten-free blends, cereals. Buckwheat. Buckwheat is not a true grain, but a seed. It's gluten-free and has an earthy flavor, and it's great for pancakes, crepes, soba noodles, and even muffins. Quinoa is another one of our family favorites. It is a protein-rich seed. It's gluten-free with a nutty flavor. It's great in gluten-free baking for breads, crackers, and even pasta. Does freshly milled flour contain gluten? So, if the grain being milled contains gluten like wheat, spelt, or rye, then yes, it will contain gluten. You can mill gluten-free grains if you need gluten-free flour. So you first have to look at the grain that you're using, look at the specifics of the grain to figure out if you're milling gluten-free flour or not. How do you store freshly milled flour? Personally, I like to mill my flour as I need it, so I don't spend a lot of time thinking about storing freshly milled flour. But if I do make a recipe and I end up having a little bit extra, because I like to mill a bit extra just in case, if I have a little bit extra left over, I like to store it in airtight containers in the refrigerator or the freezer to slow down the oxidation and to prevent rancidity. Keep it out of light heat and keep it away from moisture. Why does freshly milled flour sometimes make baked goods denser? So, because it contains bran and germ, which interfere with gluten development, some baked products will come out denser. But letting the dough rest, using proper hydration, and even including vital wheat gluten can improve the texture of your baked products. Can I sell baked goods made with freshly milled flour? Yes, but you'll need to follow your local food safety laws and labeling requirements. Freshly milled flour can be a unique selling point for artisanal, nutritious, or whole food focused baked goods. So these are the top 10 questions I wanted to address in today's Q&A style video about freshly milled flour. If you have any further questions, feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section below, and I hope you found this video informative and helpful. In the description box below, I will include a link to my blog where I am also sharing recipes that are made with refined flour as well as those made with freshly milled flour. Once again, thanks for tuning in today. If you have any questions, please feel welcomed to leave a question down in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe, and thank you for all the support of my videos. I'll catch you in the next one.